All right.
All right. Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2019, and this is the weekly meeting for Kubernetes SIG Docs. Let us start with our agenda. Let's see. New contributors. Do we have any folks who are new or just returning today? Matt, welcome back.
Thanks. I hope it's okay for me to continue lurking. I'm not even
Absolutely.
I guess a member yet, but I'm working on it. Gonna level up.
No, please hang out.
Great.
Yeah, hang out for the info, hang out for the lulls, hang out for whatever reason keeps you here. The New Stack podcasts, welcome. Totally not a bot account. It's all good. Lurk away. Totally not a bot.
Not a bot.
Confirmed. Well, welcome. Okay, updates and reminders. I am this week's PR Wrangler, and next week's PR Wrangler is Zach Arnold. Tim, that was the best chat reply ever. Thank you. It warms my heart. So I wanted to make a note about PR Wrangler shifts in particular. If you are an approver for SIG Docs, every quarter we expect that folks will do a shift wrangling PRs for the repository. Last week's PR Wrangler did not do their job, so this week I am playing a ton of catch up. So please know when your shift is, and if you have any question about whether you need to reschedule, it's better to do that early rather than try to do it after the wrangling week has already started. Speaking of which, if we look at the schedule, let's see, for October 20th, Brad Topol, yay, Brad's a great wrangler. The October 27th, Chenapis, Andrew Chen is scheduled, and as folks may know, Andrew has stepped down as a chair and has completely scaled back his involvement with SIG Docs, so he's not going to be available to wrangle PRs that week. So we need a replacement for October 27th. So if an approver is available, well, actually, let me ask, is there anyone who would like to wrangle that week? Who can? This may be better for Slack, for the wider pool of approvers.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I will do it if you need it, so you have a backup. I can do 2 weeks if you need me to do, Zach, no problem. I can do 2 weeks in a row.
Thank you.
Because after I do my week, it's just so easy. Sorry.
You're in the habit. Let's see, we'll ask for a replacement for Synopsis in week of October 27th. Ask in Slack. All right. So, thanks, Jim, for posting the agenda into the chat window. Much obliged. I apologize that the agenda is a little thin. Like I said, it's been sort of a week of catch up. So on the agenda, we have two sort of main areas. One starting with content for the actual docs, and then two pieces to talk about so far in terms of process. PR Wranglers we already covered, so I'm gonna move that. So let's talk about, sorry, before we dive into it, if there is something that you'd like to talk about in today's agenda, feel free to add that item to the discussion. Feel free to go on in and add the topics that you'd like to talk about. All right, so let's dive into third-party content. So last week at the steering committee meeting, we talked about the proposal that we had discussed and implemented, excuse me, for third-party content in Kubernetes docs. And the feedback that we all got was that that kind of third-party content policy really needs to go through the KEP process. KEP stands for Kubernetes Enhancement Proposal. And because it is sufficiently granular, sufficiently particular, and simultaneously quite large in scale and in scope of what it affects, we need to get reviewers on that before we start implementing it wide scale. So the first step is to put together an actual proposal. Jim has linked a Google Doc into the agenda. This is the shell of a KEP. This is the KEP form. And what we need is we need folks who can fill this out. And some of that will be, it's not a really complex job. Basically, you're taking feedback from the third-party content issue, which, let's see, 15748 is the issue. Let me post a link into that document. Let's see, source issue. And basically taking all of the feedback there and let's see, also let's see, our content guide, what we've already merged into the contribution guide. And plug this into the template. From there, we'll take this Google Doc, we'll create an issue out of it, put it in the KEP repo. You know, I've never done a KEP before. Jim, do you know off the top of your head, what is the repo for putting KEPs in? Is there like a separate KEP repo?
I believe there's a separate repo and there's a structure where we'll have to create a SIG Docs folder in it. I can get that and link it.
Okay. Oh, hey, Chiefy. Oh, it's K enhancements. Thank you very much. So basically, we just need to plug into the process. As mentioned, it's not super cumbersome. It's hoop jumping, at least initially. And then we get to the real meat of the discussion. But first, we have to create the platform for that discussion to occur. Jeffrey, if you want to talk about KEPs a little bit, this would be a great time to do that.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes. Would you like to introduce yourself first?
Hello. My name is Jeffrey Sika. I'm also known as Jiffy throughout the community. I'm actually here on behalf of the release team to do a quick, hey, it's 1:17 time, but I can also talk on KEPs because I've written one. So KEPs are Kubernetes enhancements proposals. That's what KEP means. People have memed about them hard because Stephen Augustus pushes KEPs hard, but they kind of give structure to the project. Really what it is a big long document where you describe what big change you want. If you were just doing an internal SIG change, you don't need to worry about writing a KEP. But any user-facing change or cross-SIG change is when you need to write a KEP. It is very simply a proposal, your steps to fulfill your proposal, how you are going to test your proposal, and then what you would deem graduated. So a lot of KEPs tend to have API changes where you go from alpha to beta to stable, and you have to define what that criteria is. When it comes to the release cycle, we typically look at what KEPs are slated to land in a release, and then we'll reach out to people and be like, hey, is this actually going to happen or not? So yeah, that's KEPs in a nutshell. It's just a proposal doc. There are lots of examples.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
I suspect documentation may be slightly different process.
I would assume so. Again, the KEP that I wrote was for release notes, which is user facing, but is by no means changing a Kubernetes API, right? But they still ask for things like what you would consider the KEP to be graduated or not. Now, whether that's like, I came in halfway through the conversation, so I don't know what you're talking about, but if that's like a big website change, that might be like, okay, the alpha stage is the like website can be viewed by certain people, and then the graduated stage is everyone can see it, something like that.
Gotcha.
Again, there are so many different KEPs that span such a broad range of the project. You'll probably find a few that you can kind of model yourself after.
Excellent. Thank you for that. While you are here, would you like to talk about release 1.7 or 1.17, excuse me?
Absolutely. Making it easy on me. Like I said, hello. I am one of the release lead shadows for 1.17. I just wanted to pop in here and let y'all know of some key dates that might be important. One of them is literally your freeze date, so yeah. The release started September 23rd. This is going to be a much shorter release cycle than previous releases. The main reason being they're holidays, and there's also KubeCon in the middle. So instead of like 14 weeks, it's more like 12. So keep that in mind. Enhancements freeze is next Tuesday, October 15th, end of day Pacific time. The code freeze will be November 14th, end of day Pacific time, and that's also right before KubeCon. Docs must be completed and reviewed by November 19th, which is, I believe, right in the middle of KubeCon. So that is going to be problematic, and I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yep. 1.17, assuming everything lands and everything is good, is supposed to be cut December 9th. So honestly, I didn't realize I was the bearer of bad news when I said I was going to talk to SIG Docs, and then I just looked at that and went, oh. If you want to shift that around, please let me know, and I can talk with Gwen and the other leads and maybe shift it ahead of time or shift it later. I would defer to all of your wonderful opinions, and I would honestly back that because docs freeze kind of being in the middle of KubeCon isn't really good.
Not so good. It's flashback. I'm getting flashbacks of 1.9.
Oh no.
No, so Damini Satya would be the person to talk to about shifting docs states in the release cycle. Damini is our release lead, but we definitely surface that to her.
I absolutely will. And if she says that there's not really an issue, then sweet, not a problem. Other than that, like I said, 117 is going to be shorter, and then we'll have a nice holiday break. Is there any questions or any other things that you want surfaced to the wonderful release team?
Tim, go for it.
So one thing I've noticed, not been a Kubernetes contributor that long, to be honest, but a lot of the initial, here's a placeholder PR for my new feature, they turn up about, well, they turn up when the deadline for that PR is, which is like a week before the docs release freeze. And I feel like that should be much earlier. Now, here is my placeholder PR, gets contributors who are writing code to think about the docs, and it lets the docs people think about what the docs for that new feature looks like. Now, it might be far too late to change that for this cycle, but chasing up those PRs and saying, where is your placeholder PR? Can I help with your placeholder PR? Can I help it not be a placeholder? Would help address some of that stuff around KubeCon being in the way.
I like that. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to talk with the enhancements lead, see if there's something from their side that they might be able to address up front, because they're typically the ones that are chasing down the KEPs and seeing who's getting into the release, because typically it goes KEP docs or KEP PRs and docs. So if they can potentially just, hey, get this in sooner, and maybe we set a date for that sooner, that might be nice. The other thing, it probably is too late to get this in for 117, but I can put it in the 117 retro so we can talk about it for 118. So I will do that right now.
Get your retros in early.
Yes, the retro doc is started right when the release starts. So it's like something happens week 1, put it in the retro. We'll talk about it. Any other questions or ideas or things? All right. Thank you for letting me crash your wonderful party.
Thank you for coming to visit us.
Not a problem. Bye.
You're welcome to hang out or peace out, whatever you want to do.
I'll probably peace out. I was actually in the middle of something and I realized my calendar alert didn't go off.
Oh, good.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So let's go back to the KEP briefly. Are there folks who are willing to take on the getting the initial port of information from an issue into the KEP template?
Yeah, I will start looking at that.
So Tim and Brad. Excellent.
And we're all in agreement. What's in the issue is basically was our point of view as a whole, right? Okay.
Will report umbrella issue and content guide into the KEP template.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too, Brett. I added a couple kind of really ugly gold highlights in the draft KEP. And that was what kind of came out of the steering committee when we were talking about some of the kind of what are the next steps forward. So if one of those pieces doesn't make sense to you of what they're looking for, what they're more or less expecting out of us, I think we're going to have to change how we propose the KEP due to the nature of what the KEPs are normally used for. Kind of like what Zach was talking about, where we're talking about website changes versus code changes. But I think that those highlighted areas encompass kind of what they were looking for. Along with that issue, we can come up with a unified direction there.
Yeah, I had a feeling that's what that gold stuff was for. I mean, all that glitters is not gold, I noticed. So
Exactly.
Yeah, so I suspect this is going to be a multi-iteration, multi-lengthy discussion, and the sooner we get some type of straw man in place, then we can at least start the process. I mean, that's how I was looking at it, Zach.
Agreed. So when is a reasonable date to have that straw man in place? Like a week, 2 weeks, 3 days? Tell me.
I'm thinking a week plus or minus that we should be able to get something if Tim and I are both right, and I think we can get something in shape, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So we should revisit this next week.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you both.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at All Things Open next week presenting. That's the only thing. So, but y'all can go without me. It'll all be in the document, I'm sure. So.
Okay. Tim, does that work for you?
I mean, Brad, if you feel like there's a lot of stuff that needs discussion, so we can defer discussing it for a week, if that feels right. Cross that bridge, I think.
We'll just play it by ear. Okay, let me know. Yeah.
I'm probably going to look at this on Thursday. Just that's what's going to happen.
That sounds about right with me. That's probably when I'll start looking at it too. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you both.
Sure.
So let's move on to process. I need to forward this on Bob Killen, aka Mr. Bobby Tables, sent a notification to the chairs and tech leads list for Kubernetes, basically asking SIGs to clean up their owners' files. And they have a particular tool that shows you which owners' files you currently belong to. So we need to go through, we have enough owners' files, some of which were good ideas, some of which were half-baked ideas, some of which I look at and I'm like, what was I thinking? But we need to go through our owners' files and make sure that they are current. So I am going to take an action item. Let's see, Zach will send Bob's email to SIG Docs Google Group to broadcast that more widely and more completely. Okay. The action item from this is use the link in the email, check your owner's file membership. If you're not in an owner's file, don't worry. Okay. The next item up is a doc sprint. I need to step away for about 5 minutes, but I wonder, Jim, is this your agenda item?
No, that was one Cody added, but Cody and I had the discussion that triggered me engaging with you, so it's somewhat related.
Okay. Brad, can I ask you to talk about what we've done in previous sprints long enough for me to step away and come back?
Oh, absolutely. Which one are we planning this one for, just curiously?
This is for November in San Diego.
Oh, wow. I didn't know we were doing one.
Yeah. Cody,
so
I'll be
no,
right back.
Yeah, I'll cover this for 5 minutes. So usually we use doc sprints as a way to really get folks to learn about docs and be able to start contributing to the docs. So we'll go over what it takes to be able to contribute, and then we typically will help them through certain processes. You'll get different people that come in at different levels. We typically want them to have already come in and signed the license agreement, because that's kind of annoying if they don't have the approval to actually contribute. But if we get them to that spot, we can typically get them, I guess we give them some instructions on Git or what have you, but ideally we show them how they could contribute to docs, the overall structure, and we typically do easy things. We look for low fruit. A lot of glossary entries are typically a good way to start for a person to get their first pull request. Is to go add a glossary entry is a really nice trick. And sort of the overall theme is to talk about, getting folks. They get the way I look at it is you get a couple things. You of course get the folks that want to learn how to contribute to docs, but then there's also folks that we can try and get into the top of the funnel, are folks who want to eventually contribute to the code, but they're not ready for that yet. I've worked in open source past 7 years. It's a great way to learn how to contribute to the code is to start with the docs. Learn the docs, contribute to the docs. And so we try and get both groups to show up at the sprints and be able to contribute. The other place we've used the doc sprints a lot, so we've either done the easy glossary type things when we were in Shanghai or Barcelona. We also do doc sprints that were translation focused. So if we are in the other parts of the world, if it makes sense, sometimes we focus on the translation side of the docs and how, so for example, in Shanghai, we had the Indonesian folks and some other folks there that needed help on how to get translation done. And so we were able to sit down with them and talk about how the structure is for the different languages and answer their questions. Because we had the experienced folks there as well. So, the China team, the Korea team are very, very good at what they do and how their processes for how they translate the docs. and helping to disseminate that knowledge from the Korean team and the Chinese team to other teams that aren't as up to speed is kind of something that we can sometimes cover as well. So that
Is there,
go ahead.
has there been an agenda in the past, like an actual agenda for the doc
Yes.
sprint? Okay.
Yes, we'll
All right.
typically have a theme ahead of time. We don't just show up and go, "What are we doing?" You know, Zach and I look at each other with a beer in our hand, and go, "What are we doing?" No, we typically will have a theme of some form and prep of what we want to cover. I've seen us do them. Hey, everybody come in, and we'll just start teaching everybody how to do it, and we'll do glossary entries. We've done that before, and then lately we've typically started out with a nice presentation overview of how to contribute to docs, overview of the area. I know I put together, I can go dig out. I did a nice presentation. I think I stepped in for Zach. He wasn't able to make one of the trips, and so I stepped in and covered, oh, here's what we're going to cover. And then we do it to the new contributors, and then we also did it as part of the beginning part of the doc sprint. And then that was a nice way to set the thing and then set the table of what we were going to do. And then we would typically have groups where we just go around and help folks. We have typically enough approvers around so that somebody gets real-time gratification, right? They've submitted their PR. I'm sitting in the room. I look at it, looks good, merge it. Hey, wow, right there, first PR merged right in the room. And it makes folks feel really good. So overall, you know, it's a nice way to get not just larger folks interested in contributing to docs, but even also, you know, getting those folks that say they want to contribute to code, kind of getting them to understand how we do docs as well has been good for them and us. Does that make sense? And any questions on any of that?
Yeah, so when I was talking to Zach previously, and you actually mentioned it, theme based. Can you just give a, like you just said we come up with a theme, can you just give a couple examples of what you mean by themes?
Well, the theme was typically needs driven. So so we've done themes, we've done a couple different themes. We did obviously we can do glossary and nice, easy, just you know, easy things to go fix. We've done translation where that's made sense. The other theme was a much more, again, self-motivated theme, was when we were switching from Jekyll to Hugo, right? And there were all kinds of bugs. So that was everybody, here's a page,
Gotcha.
go find what's broken, go submit some PRs, you know, or issues. I mean, we had one doc sprint that was mostly go open up issues because of, you know, we were halfway through that process of converting over and the pages were just not in good shape. So the idea of the theme is generally something that's, here's where we got to be careful. It's got to be easy enough for new folks to be able to do. But if we can line it up with one of our critical needs, that's what we've done in the past.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And that's the magic formula. You want, and I'm usually a good weather belt for this. You want somebody, how should I put it? You want things that would be very easy for a beginner to come do. And I have a nice gift of always seeming to act and look like a beginner on things. My brain goes away. So if I feel like, hey, if I could go do this, add a glossary entry or go debug the page and go, you know, open issue. If it's something really easy, that seems to be the thing. Trying to shoot for too much and say, oh, we're going to go revamp some huge complex organizational structure we have in our docs. In my opinion, that has not been as successful because you never know who's going to show up, and really the odds of them ramping up quick enough to understand all that structure and then to be able to make good decisions on how we do something big like that. Again, if the purpose is to try and at the conferences, we're trying to get new people in, we typically avoid those. Whereas as our group of experienced folks, we have jams or whatever where we've done in the past where we have focused on things like that, but typically not at the conferences where we're more focused on gathering new people to get excited. But a theme, I was rambling a little bit there, but getting a theme early is good because we really want to tweet about it and try and get people interested. Again, we're typically competing with the new contributors workshop. And if we don't really play used car salesman and highlight, we won't get as many people. So, and again, I like to use, listen, if you want really nice hands-on learning in a smaller environment, so you're not intimidated by a whole bunch of folks, and you want smaller hands-on learning how to contribute, come see us at a doc sprint, because that's really our signature. We're really good at hands-on. Oh, you're having trouble with Git, you don't quite understand Git. We can teach you that as we teach you how to contribute to the docs. And that's how I always sell it, because I don't think we typically don't get as many people. And so since we get less people and there's many of us there, we typically can give a very one-on-one or 1-to-3 type ratio of helping people who otherwise would be intimidated and are like, well, I really want to learn, but this is so intimidating. And these people, I'm going to ask all the dumb questions. I'm not doing that in front of 100 people, but they might actually do it in a much smaller setting that we provide. Does that help, Cody?
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure Jim and I'll probably be reaching back out. I'm a bit overcommitted, so Jim's going to help out with planning the doc sprint. So I appreciate it, Brad. Thank you.
Sure. And I'm just looking at Tim's comments now. Absolutely. We typically would have that good list of good first issues. And so we could do glossary entries and good first issues. Let's see what else he's saying. The graphic stuff, they've got to have the right tools, right? I got to remember, don't we typically use a certain specific tool for the graphics? That is a good idea, though. I think that's worth exploring more, Tim. That's interesting to see where
maybe
we
for
could
a KubeCon +1 for the graphics.
What's that?
Maybe for the graphics, that could be KubeCon +1.
Perhaps, right? Yeah. So that's an interesting idea as well. Focus on a concept theme. Yeah, and again, the other thing is, sometimes it's hard to get people to stay there the whole day. I'm just thinking out loud, but sometimes you might think, okay, well, maybe the first half of the day is let's get new contributors going and what the things are. And then maybe the second half would be something more like you're showing here, which is where you have the more experienced doc contributors working together to focus on a concept theme. Does that make sense? Because I think my experience has been, it's real hard to get that newcomer to stay there all day. I think usually by right after lunch, around 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, they're pretty tapped out. It's been overwhelming for them, and we're kind of out of easy things. But sometimes we might think, hey, you could have enough time to do first half of the day new contributor easy stuff, second half of the day focus on the experienced folks working together on a concept. Now, he said only 5 minutes. I feel like I've been talking for 10.
We appreciate you talking, though.
Okay.
It helps out, Brad. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, that was all good stuff. As far as the time frame goes, this is somewhat of a loaded question. It seems like we have pretty much the whole day there to divvy up for, what we need for our docs purposes.
Right.
So is it normal that we would have a doc sprint pretty much the entire day? I know KubeCon last year, we kind of had some smaller like lightning talk sessions, and then that is a whole nother, I added it to the bottom of the agenda here, but that's kind of where I want to go with this discussion as far as that contributor day in SIG Docs. What do we want that to look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got.
Sorry, Brad, can I jump in?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please. I was hoping you would.
Okay.
I've been talking for a while.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we've tried a couple different models for timing and duration over the past couple of years. And the sprints where I think we've had the best success and the best traction have been where we started the docs day with the contributor day. So when the contributor day gets started in the morning, starting with them, has people come in with the energy in the morning, they're fresh, they're ready to go. And then to run basically until lunch and maybe a little after, but not much more. Doing a sprint for a whole day, I think people like pretty much have done their best work by lunch, and
Yep.
providing enough, providing structure for the morning, and then providing like more opportunities to socialize and just be present for whatever happens or whatever people want to do or show interest in for the last 2 hours seems to be the magic recipe. And one thing that I would concur with Brad. I don't know that we're in competition with the new contributor day so much as we are one venue there for people to express interest. We've had people wander in and go, what docs? And then sort of wander in as strangers and then get totally interested and committed. So just being present is its own magic in a kind of way.
Just out of curiosity, are we doing anything with the new contributor workshops?
So we will be present in the contributor day space.
Okay.
As far as the new contributor workshops themselves, so typically the way that's gone in the past is there's like a giant slide deck that goes for the whole day, and the people from different SIGs come in and do introductions. Both Brad and I have stepped in to do that at points in the past. I think we usually end up getting allocated like 10 to 15 minutes, but it's usually just the show up. This is who we are. This is how to find out more. So like I can show you the slide deck from previous KubeCons. Basically what I do is I go in, I say, hey, we're SIG Docs. This is our repo. Please know that we use prow. All of the commands that you've learned to interact with repo with other projects still work here, but we're the Ginger Rogers of Kubernetes repos in that we commit and publish from master, and then we release historically to branches. We don't commit. We don't work on a working branch and then cherry pick into a release branch. We don't publish from release branches, I guess, is the way to put that. So just to point out that our workflow is slightly different. Point out if you're working for features on a release based off the dev branch, if you're working for change that needs to go live right now, based it off master, that sort of thing. But that's an easy 10 minutes right there. And it's basically just to get in, say hello, and then get out.
Gotcha.
So Cody, Jim, do you have what you need? Do you have any other questions that you want to talk about?
This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you. And I was just curious, do we want to do some sort of highlight or anything like that, demo or expo for docs afterwards? I don't know exactly what we would highlight, just kind of throwing it out there open-ended.
You mean during the new contributor workshop or when?
Yeah, pretty much during that contributor day where we have time, we have a small audience. Is there anything that we want to promote or advertise, or not like advertise in the traditional sense, but from a SIG doc sense?
So we typically, what I the last time was show some visuals of the docs and show people aren't necessarily aware how much we've done with translation. So showing that, hey, you can click here and you get the different languages and what have you. I think just showing off the different features of the docs, in addition to all the stuff that Zach mentioned that we always do in our 10 to 15 minutes, seems to go pretty well, right? So we want to leave them with a wonderful impression of there's a really great set of docs. They're translated, they're per release, and showing them just some snapshots of our website and our repo. Hey, look how it's structured. Believe it or not, after you do all that and the stuff that Zach said, you're pretty much filling your 10 to 15 minutes. But it's usually well received, Jim. I mean, we have a lot to be proud of, both in how our repo is structured, how our docs look and feel. It usually comes across very well.
And honestly, just giving folks the chance to know where we are, and the chance for folks to see that you, a person, represent docs, and that they have that kind of relational connection is tremendously valuable. So, I mean, just going and doing it is valuable in its own right.
Yeah, and letting them know we have a weekly meeting and how you get a hold of everyone. It really goes, it's all good points to hit.
Any more questions, thoughts, feedback? Cool.
Does so we've covered localization. Is there an inclusion angle on SIG Docs that we haven't talked about here and is relevant to the contributor summit?
Say more about that.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Zach.
Okay, say more about that. Say more about that. Elaborate, please.
Basically, it's what's we're talking. My employer is talking about inclusion at KubeCon, and just remembering that made me think, okay, we haven't talked about this here, and I wonder if there's something that's useful about the contributor summit and getting people included.
Yes, what a wonderful reminder. The sprints have also been great historical opportunities to reach out to people from different communities, underrepresented communities, and get folks involved that way. I'm trying to think if we've ever done anything like super consciously or intentionally to reach out to underrepresented groups. I don't know that we have, but I would love to see intentional effort given there because it matters. And I think we have somehow bucked the curve in weird ways with docs. Like technical writing is a discipline. Women are, I don't want to say overrepresented, but make up the majority of the profession. But SIG Docs has, our demographics are pretty overwhelmingly male. But we also have our past 3 release leads have been people of color. So I think we're doing a good job, but it would be great to be intentional about doing better. I don't know, at this point, I'm just talking out loud. The short answer is that I would love to, and I'm not sure how. If you have ideas about how to do that, Tim, I think we'd be very open to it. I know that we would be very open to it.
I feel like my employer, Scale Factory, we do the inclusion thing big. So I will ask internally.
Thank you. Okay, we've reached the end of our agenda. This is the last call for anything else that folks would like to talk about. All right, that's a SIG meeting. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good week.